Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. The sun is zooming in through the blinds. Can you see me? I can just about see you. Anyway, Adam Azim and Dalton Smith. Just a few thoughts on this sort of little mini saga. Ben Shalom was on Talk Radio. You may have seen it. I thought it was an interesting little conversation they had. And some of the stuff he said did make sense. Of course, he ignored the stuff that was detrimental to him and his fighter and the image that they've projected by giving up the EBU belt. But there is some sense to what Shalom says. Now, let's look at both sides of the argument, because if this is going to be a serious conversation, you always have to be objective and look at both sides. I think the criticism, and it's criticism that I myself have made about giving up the EBU belt, is that you can't win a title and then say, well, I'm not ready for so-and-so. Well, maybe I'll fight him later. No. If you're a champion and you get mandated to fight a challenger that's been mandated by the ruling body, in this case the EBU, you have to fight them or you have to give up the belt. Now, Azim has done that. And you can argue, yes, Azim was fast-tracked too quick. He probably, in a sense, he was. But the opportunity came up to fight for the EBU title. And what is he, 21, 23 as a young man? He took it and he won it and he defended it once. And so he's got that experience of being an EBU champion. Now, it doesn't always follow that everybody who's staring at you through the glass window, looking at you and your belt, that you're going to be ready for all of them just because you're the champion. There are plenty of challengers that start as, ranked favourites over the champion because they're just better fighters, and we frequently see it. Did anyone think Rowley was going to beat Pitbull? Well, Paulie Malignaggi did, apparently, which amazes me because I really like Paulie and I've always respected his opinion, but I thought it was a very strange prediction. But that's just one example. So is it bad to pull Azim out of the Dalton Smith fight and essentially duck him and give up the title? Well, yeah, it's not a good look, definitely. But at the same time, if you're a promoter or a manager, if you've got a team behind you, a training team, you're going to want to guide your fighter in the correct way. And yes, you can say that in the case of Azim, the EBU title came too soon. It probably did. But if you've got a fighter who, number one, is high risk, low reward, and number two, you think you can beat if you've got a bit more experience, or if, further down the line, maybe you're a bit older, you've got your man strength, you've honed your skills more, you've schooled yourself a bit better. I don't think there's a problem with ducking them initially, so long as you don't duck them forever. And sometimes that's a bad thing because, like with Canelo, when that Canelo weight crap and the avoidance of Gennady Golovkin until he thought Golovkin was there for the taking, and even then Golovkin gave him hell in the first 2 rounds. Sometimes it can be a little bit detrimental to one's legacy, but if you're a young fighter, 21, 22, 23, and you've got a guy who's, like I say, very high risk, because Dalton Smith is an extremely good fighter, low reward, and you see something over there that's more lucrative, because this is, of course, prize fighting, and you want to make a decent amount of money, and is less risk, then can you be blamed for going over to the other side of the street? I'm not going to use that stupid phrase. Going somewhere else. Now, one of the things that Ben Shalom said during the TalkSport interview was, we have a choice between a Eubank and a Dalton Smith. Eubank has a name, the big Eubank family name. Dalton Smith doesn't. And he actually implied that Harlem Eubank would be an easier fight than Dalton Smith, which I think he would be. I think he will be. So he wants Azim to fight Eubank. He says it's for more money. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. And he says, if to get the name Eubank on your record is a good thing, and it heightens your profile. You're on Sky anyway, which is a big platform, big boxing platform. So yeah, okay, maybe there's some sense there. And he also said, Shalom, that Adam Azim and Dalton Smith is a massive fight potentially further down the line, where both fighters could earn, he said, like 5 times as much as they're earning now. I don't know the figures. I don't know what money's on the table, so I can't comment on that. But he said, look, we'll cook this fight for later. Okay. And there is some sense to that. There is some sense to that. Ben Shalom gets a lot of heat. A lot of it's deserved. But at the same time, as he said, he's got to look after his fighters. They've placed trust in him, so he has to do what he feels is right. Whether what he's doing is right, whether what he's doing is actually right or wrong, is a matter of opinion. I suppose in a sense that's kind of subjective. Although, as I say, I've had criticisms of Shalom in the past. Let's look at EDDIE HEARN, his attitude. Now, EDDIE HEARN has just been completely trying to humiliate Ben Shalom and Boxer. Completely trying to humiliate him. And why wouldn't he? He's the opposition. EDDIE HEARN and DAZN are flying. They're producing a card, virtually, 2 or 3 cards a month. They've got far more, a bigger roster of fighters. He's doing fantastic, EDDIE HEARN. And Matt Trumar, he's probably the biggest international promoter in the world. That is to say, he puts fights on in Mexico, America, Britain, and Australia, you name it. He's all over the bloody place. So he's a giant in the world promotional game. Ben Shalom obviously isn't, and Sky, as big a platform as it is domestically, is not. It's not an international platform. Although they currently have connections to, I think is it Top Rank? No, not Top Rank. Who is it? Yeah, it's a Top Rank. They do show international. What's the word I'm looking for? Product. Horrible word, isn't it? But they show foreign fights. Let's put it that way. But EDDIE HEARN is going to try and quash anything that Ben Shalom does. He's going to squash and quash it. He's going to try and humiliate the guy. He knows he's a young, inexperienced promoter. You shit yourself. You're scared of us. You're this. You're that. You're the other. Listen, I get it. He's the opposition. But make no mistake about it. If Adam Azim or Fraser Clark or anyone else that Boxer have was an EDDIE HEARN fighter, he'd be doing exactly the same thing. He'd be trying to maximise the profits for his fighter. He'd be trying to develop his fighters, to the best of their potential. And a lot of what Shalom has done, he would have done. His attitude would be the same as Shalom's. Now, he may go about things differently in the sense that he may not have steered Azim to the EBU title. We don't really know. But, just because he's slagging one guy off, these promoters, don't trust any of them, because ultimately they're going to try and spin everything to their advantage. And it's complete nonsense to suggest that one promoter is saintly and the other is a demon with horns. No, it don't work like that. Look at Frank and Ed and Eddie, Frank Warren and EDDIE HEARN. The moment there was a shit ton of money on the table, suddenly they were best buds. Prior to that, they couldn't say a good word about each other for years and years and years. And if it's the same thing, if Shalom came on board with the Saudi money and suddenly was working with Frank and Eddie, suddenly it all would be forgotten and they'd be really, really good mates, wouldn't they? And, look, the bottom line for all these people is money. Criticisms are okay, but for EDDIE HEARN to say, well, Adam Azim's a good fighter, but he shit himself, and Boxer should have relinquished the title sooner, and why? Because you say so? No. If I'm in charge of a fighter, I do things my way. If I'm looking after a fighter, I put his opinion, his welfare first. I'm not interested in what you got to say. You take the piss all you like, mate. I don't give a fuck. That would be my attitude. And Shalom, I think, probably has the same attitude, although he's not profane about it. He tries to remain the adult in the room. But we'll see. I think Dalton Smith will fight Adam Azim later on in their careers, and I think it will be a big fight. And why not? If one of them's got a world title, or maybe they both got world titles. who's to say this won't be a blockbuster further down the line? Shalom could be right on that score. He mentioned the Fraser Clark thing about when he pulled him out of the purse bid, he felt he needed more experience. So he had a couple of fights more, one against Marius Vac, which was 10 rounds, and then he had the Dave Allen run around, which is 5, 6, whatever it was. You know, and probably when you consider that the close proximity to those fights and the Wardley fight, those extra rounds did do him some good psychologically. So again, you can't, and of course it was an absolute fantastic fight and a big, massive success. So yeah, you know, I have criticisms of Shalom, don't get me wrong, and I'm very, very sceptical whether he'll stay on board with Sky when his 2025 contract finishes. But yeah, you know, it's maybe sometimes he's right. Don't write anyone off here. Don't write anyone off. You get experience, whether you're a promoter or a fighter, by going out there and doing things. And sometimes you can't be fast tracked. There's an art to fast tracking people. There's an art to bringing a fighter on. Frank Warren does it brilliantly with young fighters. You know, British, or maybe area level, even English, British, Commonwealth, European, then world. That's always been the way to do it, in my opinion. Always. None of these stupid alphabet soup trinkets. Forget all that rubbish. Do it the traditional way, and I think a fighter's potential will be maximised. So what do you think? Do you have that? Do you share my views, or do you disagree? If you disagree, that's absolutely fine. Please leave your comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the subscribe button and then give the like button a good old pop and all. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Thanks a lot. Catch you later. Bye for now.